maybe that could be a sign of qualitative growth in the party, and where internal democracy of the African National Congress is gradually moving towards deliberative engagements. Deliberative engagements simply means critical and robust engagements around issues of leadership. So if you've got those critical and robust engagements around issues of leadership, it basically opens up for a whole lot of other people who might have not had an opportunity to contest in the past to be part and parcel of the race for leadership in the ANC. But I think we are heading towards a situation, if things stay as they are, we are heading towards a situation where we've got a record high number of contestants for all positions, right from the president up to the last position of the Treasurer General.
Well, of course, I mean, you may hold that particular view. You do know, of course, that many other people hold a different view. To them, it's a sign that the party is so seriously divided. You can't coalesce around much fewer candidates who obviously have a very real possibility of assuming whatever program, that you hopefully agree on as a ANC, or you simply don't trust one another. It's a free-for-all without really much to actually justify what we are seeing.
Check one serious responsibility of leadership. I might agree with that view, but one other responsibility of an organization, and particularly an organization which is mass-based like the African National Congress, because from the mass-based character of the organization, there comes some vulnerability. So that might happen, but when you are sitting with a mass-based organization, there should be a process of management of succession. And for all parties that have failed to manage succession, they end up being divided and end up being a high degree of instability. So the first and the foremost responsibility of building unity is to manage succession, and which I think we have to a certain extent as the movement lowered the guard, and there is no proper management of succession, and particularly from the watershed conference that we had in 2007, the contestation between JZ and Thabo Mbeki. Since that conference, you've actually seen that there's been reduction and shedding of votes for each and every election after that conference. Because of the high levels of division within the movement, because of our failure to manage succession in 2007, and we continue to suffer the adverse impact of that. But if one have to guess around what could be one of the reasons why we've got such a record high number of candidates, almost for each and every position, one of the issues is the one I've already raised, our incapacity as a party to manage succession. And the other one is the perceived weak leadership. When there is vacuum of leadership, everyone just wants to jump into and try to occupy the leadership position. Possibly linked with this perception of weak leadership is that the bar has been lowered and everybody sees him or herself as a deputy president. It has never happened that we go to a conference and there is such a jockeying for the deputy president to an extent as if the current incumbent is non-existent. So we are sitting with those challenges that we'll have to look into. But one understands why there is such jockeying for the position of the deputy president, because the next conference is a succession conference for 2027. We are expecting that if the current incumbent president, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, gets elected to become the president, he will be doing his last term, and in 2027, we'll have to elect a new leader for the party, and obviously whoever emerges and win the conference as a deputy president is likely to become the president in 2027. Yes.
Perhaps before we even get to the deputy president position, which is correct to point out, is probably seen, but was contested of this position. But I don't know if you saw or read today, and a few days ago, we had reports that Dr. Ngozi Dlamini Zuma has entered or is keen to enter the race.
Yeah.
And this morning, we now hear Dr. Gwendolyn Mkhize is, according to this one report, is also raising his hand, or as ANC people normally or usually put it, this is not going to say no, because the branches of the ANC speak. So it's getting interesting there. We get to the people.
Yes, it is definitely getting interesting, and from the position of the president, but you get the intensity of joking around the issue around the position of the deputy president. I know for the position of the president, we roughly have about 5 candidates that have already expressed their interest. For the position of the deputy president, you roughly could count up to 8, 9, 10 that have expressed their interest. So,
actually, we're going to put that one up, but yes, continue, that's all.
Yes, but all of these names makes the engagement towards the national conference very exciting, and I firmly believe they enrich this engagement. Because the process of branch nominations is likely to start this week. I know in the province we are starting with our branch nominations. And branches are starting to ask, but from these 7 candidates for this particular position, who are they? What is it that they can bring forth? Because the reality of the matter is that 2022 National Conference now in December is intricately linked to the 2024 general elections. So we must use the forthcoming conference as a platform to unite the ANC, as a platform to launch a formidable campaign for 2024 elections. Because the reality of the matter is, as the party, we are currently confronted with an existential threat. And this existential threat, as you may know, as a political commentator, is that due to public crisis, there's a whole lot of issues which are contributing towards the state in which we are. So this conference is not only about itself, it's also about the 2024 general elections, and I don't think we can fail in that front.
Well, interesting to say that, Dr. Sol, because as much as you and many other people may believe that what we're seeing coming out of the conversation around the position of the deputy president may enrich, engagements. But we also know from past experience that often you end up with compromised, candidates, because from the conversation that you begin to have ahead of the conference, in the run-up and a conference, you then settle for less because there's a lot of bargaining, there's a lot of trying to please everyone, but there is compromise to sort of reach particular agreements. And that, I would argue, won't help you to deal with that existential crisis ahead of in the run-up to the next general election.
No, thank you very much. Foremost in the thinking of any ANC member, and particularly ANC leadership now, is the renewal of the organization, because we know if we don't renew the movement, we are doomed. And I firmly believe whatever compromises which might take place around issues of leadership, we are going to make it a point that those who get elected into these critical positions within the organization, where they serve as the face of the organization, they should comply to a minimum degree of ethical leadership. In their thinking and conduct, they should be guided by what we call as revolutionary morality. By revolutionary morality, I simply means our attitude towards governance, our attitude towards public resources. The reality of the matter is there's a strong wave of a national mood against issues of corruption, against issues of self-serving leadership, against issues of political arrogance. So whoever will emerge, in order for us to turn the tide and reverse the downward spiral and shedding of votes by the movement, we need to look and get candidates that will be elected into the NEC, and particularly in the top 6, that will be able to demonstratively be candidates that are committed to the program of renewal, repositioning our movement in order to be the agent for change in the hands of South Africans.
Well, the renewal project, of course, is the rally cry, but the effect of the matter, and we know this, is that there are a lot of people who are in it for themselves, for a whole variety of reasons. So access to, or being as powerful as they can be, and being in prime positions, in the prime position of occupying certain positions, whether in government or in the ANC, gives them not only protection, but also immunity from a lot of things, including prosecution to those who may have been found wanting, may have been involved in corruption or the like.
Yes, yeah, that is quite a valid point, but I want to raise it here that spoils politics, and which these are politics about resources, politics of patronage, cronyism, nepotism, are a sickness of all modern political parties. And I'm certain you saw what was happening in the United Kingdom with the election of the leader there of the Conservative Party. Basically, the one who has to be elected, he has to share some spoils amongst the current serving parliamentarians there. Even so spoil politics is basically a sickness of all modern political parties. It is also a sickness for the African National Congress. But what is more important is that we should undermine this. There is no way of stopping it. We should be able to find a way of undermining it, because our overriding objective should be about putting up systems in place that would enable us to give the leadership that the country requires. That should enable us to ensure that we've got upright leadership that is driven in the main by the interest of the people that they are supposed to serve. And even within our structures as the ANC, we should be able to have leadership that stands for principle, unwaveringly stand for principle, and particularly around issues of elections.
Well, remember, Dr. Solomon, there's a background to many people's, skepticism, around what, the ANC can do going forward, and whether renewal and rebuilding is actually real, or everyone takes it as seriously as some of you do. Because, look at what happened in Botswana. Those who moved to, for the adoption of certain resolutions were the people who then got, elected. And subsequent to their election, a lot of things happened, killing of scorpions and all those things. And today we are talking about safe capture, precisely because organs of the state that would have stood between, the criminals and money and alleges where would have been stopped in their tracks. But there was a deliberateness about holding our houses, destroying them, so that they could then do what they ended up doing, which is what we're talking about now, or have to deal with as a country. So with that background, many people then tend, to say, well, what evidence is there to say that the ANC is united behind this agenda and really do what they profess is what they are going to be able to do?
I think basically what has unfolded just over the past year, it's a demonstrable political capacity by the current leadership under the President Cyril Ramaphosa, to really fight corruption. The budget of law enforcement institutions have been increased, and almost on daily basis, day in, day out. We saw a heightened levels of activities by the law enforcement institutions, the Hawks, the SIUs, people getting arrested for corruption and all of that. So I think we should appreciate that, and I'm getting a sense that there is an increased number of South Africans who are starting to appreciate the work that we are doing, who are starting to see that there is political commitment, which is demonstrated by the work and allocation of resources to strengthen the hand of the law enforcement institutions. But the fight against corruption, and I heard one political commentator said we've got embedded corruption in South Africa. The fight against corruption, it's not an event, it is a process. It will be a prolonged process, it will be a difficult battle. And I think with the current leadership, as the President has already mentioned, there is evidence and there is proof that there is commitment to fight corruption.
Well, interestingly, it is your own Congress, some of whom, of course, want him out, who are also pointing out that he is a royalty in this whole Phala saga, and he is, refusing to come clean or to be, the kind of role model that we should be having in times like these. So many saying, we'll deal with that when there's a parliamentary process, we'll deal with that later on. And people are saying, why aren't you demonstrating this right now? Come clean, once and for all, to prove to all and sundry that you're not in the lie.
Yes, I think that's one of the most topical issues, but I just want to give a prelude because you said a whole lot of other comrades, they basically fall victim to corruption and the work of the law enforcement agencies. Nelson Mandela once said that the ANC is not a heaven of angels, and is 100% correct. We're a mass-based organization. And people join the ANC, and some, whilst members of the movement, they commit some indiscretions. And those who commit indiscretions, they have to be held accountable. In actual fact, that should be the responsibility of the ANC to expose them. Because at the end of the day, it becomes our individual and collective responsibility to protect the pristine and revolutionary image of the ANC. When I'm saying a revolutionary image, I simply means that the ANC can't bear an image of being a corrupt party, whilst our historical mandate is to ensure that we improve the quality of life of the poorest of the poor, the downtrodden masses in this country. The issue of Phala Phala is also another issue which I must raise to you, and I've raised it on several occasions, that is a very unfortunate event. But one, listening to the President and even with the last sitting of Parliament, he raised the issue that there's about 5 institutions which are investigating the issue of Phala Phala, which means that already there is multiple investigations which are taking place. And he actually raises the issue that he will cooperate with all of them. And at the right time, he will speak to South Africans and take them to confidence. I think when there's such multiple investigations which are taking place, and it should just be fair, it will be fair for us to allow him to cooperate with those investigations and to ensure that he clean his name and come back, take South Africans into confidence. But we've got a clear process that we've agreed on as the African National Congress with regard to our step-aside policy. We said it's a 3-pronged approach. If there are allegations against you, this is an internal process. If there are allegations against you, go to the Integrity Commission. We were informed and made aware of the fact that the President did go to the Integrity Commission. We're waiting for the report of the Integrity Commission based on the allegations which are made against him. But if you are charged, criminally charged, it says you must step aside. So if the president gets criminally charged, he will be required to step aside like any other member of the African National Congress. And if he gets prosecuted and gets convicted, he must step down. And that's what we'll expect from him, like any other member of the ANC.
Quickly, would you have dealt with this the same way if you were in President Cyril Ramaphosa's position?
It's a difficult matter, and I don't want to be presumptuous because I don't know what are the facts around the matter. And what we can accept is the fact that there are processes which are unfolding to get right into the heart of this matter so that South Africans can know what actually happened there.
The soul of the Bible, they say, among the things he was able to was to successfully fight against the Philistines and the Ammonites and many others. Also, say that we are supposed to bring the tribes of Israel into a closer unity. I'm wondering what Zamani Saul's role is going to be, because there is going to be intense lobbying, and the big ANC provinces are going to slug it out and exert their influence. And what provinces like yours, province how are they going to approach this matter in the next couple of months, leading up to months?
I think we're in a very exciting space because Nasrec actually rebutted the notion and the misnomer of big and small provinces. I'm certain you know that Cyril won the conference with 147 votes. And and if you look into other positions as well, the position of the Secretary General, the difference was just 24 votes. So what this actually means is that we are moving into a political milieu where the issue of small and big provinces is not applicable. What determines the impact of a province at a national conference is the intensity of the levels of unity. And for now, the Northern Cape is the most united province of the African National Congress in this country. So that gave us an advantage to engage with our sister provinces on the best way forward. And one thing that we can appreciate compared to the last conference, we've got more than 50 extra delegates. So we go to this conference with a much bigger delegation, and that would actually give us much greater space to engage with other sister provinces on what would be the best outcome for the African National Congress. But as the Northern Cape, as we have already mentioned years back, and even in our last provincial conference, is that we support the renewal agenda. We firmly believe without renewal, the movement is doomed. And we firmly believe the fact that as the African National Congress, we should reposition ourselves around issues of youth representation, around issues of women, and as well as around issues of the national question. So we have to look into that as we are going towards the national conference. We want to see significant presence of young people in this leadership. We want to see a significant presence of women in the leadership of the National Executive Committee, and particularly in the top six. They should not occupy supporting positions of deputy this and deputy that. They should occupy substantive positions. We've never had a Secretary General who's a woman. We've never had a deputy chair, deputy president that is a woman, and those are areas that we'll have to look into. We need to affirm women because with the last election...
The president...
Sorry?
You never had the president...
We've never yes, you are 100% correct. We've never had one who's a woman, but we've already expressed ourselves. The conference last year already expressed itself around the issue of the president. But what is very much important is the fact that the next conference is a succession conference to 2027. When we raise the issue of the deputy president, or we raise the issue of the SG, that is basically with an eye to 2027. So that's how these issues are interrelated and interfeeding. So that's our views as the ANC in the province. We want to see an increased number of women in that top 6 and in substantive positions and not in supporting positions.
We'll seriously run out of time, but I have to ask you this. I was looking there at some of the responses, comments on our social media platforms. Lots of people saying, why doesn't he raise his hand? Because we believe that he can do a much better job than many, if not most, of the candidates we are seeing.
Why I don't raise my name? I don't raise my hand.
Yes.
I don't think I qualify. With the challenges that the organization is confronted with, I don't think I qualify. There's cadres within the NEC, within provincial structures that stands head and shoulders above me, whom I think they can do a much better job to lead the ANC at the national level. I don't qualify for that.
Thank you very much for your time and for the engagement this evening, Dr. Song.
Thank you very much for your, and thanks to the listeners.